of the free world cannot get to the information about either the Kennedy assassination or UFOs. And is there a connection? Yes, apparently there is.
And what is it?
Well, first off, they're both government conspiracies. In JFK, once you get past the idea that one lone nut assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, killed Kennedy, and most Americans are past that. The latest polls show upwards to 85% of the general population now believes there was a conspiracy to kill Kennedy, which means it has to be more than one person operating. Once you get past the lone nut assassin, then you're into conspiracy. And then you have to ask yourself, how come a conspiracy to murder the President of the United States after 45 years has not been solved, and in fact actually has only been addressed twice officially by the government, and why don't we know about it? And that's because at the level of the federal government of the United States, in this case, we find fabrication of evidence, destruction of evidence, alteration of evidence, and intimidation of witnesses.
Sounds like UFOs. Sounds like UFOs.
Exactly. Same methodology. And we find the same thing in the UFO issue. Now, oddly enough, some years ago, there were people who were claiming that Kennedy was killed to keep him from revealing secrets of the UFOs. And I, for one, kind of raised my eyebrow at that. That did not seem to fit into the information that I developed. But since then, and over the past 10 or 15 years, there are now documents, for example, showing that on November the 12th, 1963, just less than within the month that he was killed, there was a White House memorandum to the head of the Central Intelligence Agency ordering him to turn over all files in the CIA on UFOs to the White House. And the reason given was that we were fixing to go into joint space exploration with the then Soviet Union, and that Kennedy did not want them to get the idea that we're using this cooperation in space as cover to spy on them. Wow. And he said we must separate the knowns from the unknowns. And on that very same day, in a document out of the Kennedy Library, we find him advising James Webb, who at that time was the head of NASA, that we were going into joint space exploration with the Soviets and that he expected his full cooperation. So that means that was the day that he was working on space and potentially the question of UFOs. And within the month, he was murdered in Dallas. And to the best of my knowledge, none of those CIA files were ever turned over to the White House, which have been, you know, as well as I do, George, that would have been tantamount to making them public because aides and secretaries and all these people, somebody would have blabbed.
Holy cow, I've never heard that. I've never heard that in all the years of looking into this. That's fascinating.
Isn't that fascinating? And to further support that, Nikita Khrushchev's son, in a article in the Associated Press, I believe, confirmed that his dad and Kennedy had agreed to go into joint space exploration. So now you not only have a reason to kill him, to shut him up about UFOs, but also to prevent the end of the Cold War.
Yeah, that's a lot of dollars in a lot of people's pockets. Let me bring
a lot of big bucks.
Let me bring this back to Sci-Spies. When you think about, if you accept the idea that there are government conspiracies on a wide level, that governments of both parties, administrations of both parties have lied to us about big stuff, and then you realize that this technology or these abilities of Sci-Spies is real. I mean, on one hand, you want to have our government, our military, to have the ability to project consciousness and gain intelligence and find out what the bad guys are doing. On the other, you worry about how that ability could be used, don't you?
Exactly. You know, there's been a big ongoing controversy since 9/11 about government wiretapping, government surveillance, and that's just using the old technology. Nobody stops to realize that with remote viewing, they can come look at you anytime, anywhere. And, of course, then that prompts the question, which I've been asked on several talk shows, well, if they're so good, why didn't they go find Osama bin Laden? And the answer is simply this. One of the best Army remote viewers happened to be in New York during the 9/11 attacks, and needless to say, he was very upset. And he told me personally that he had contacted people deep within the government, and he told them, give me the word, I will find Osama bin Laden. And he was told, no, don't do that. We don't want that.
But they don't want to find him? Why would that be? They don't want to
find him.
Why would that be?
If we find him and catch him, then they don't have a boogaboo to hold over our heads and ratchet up the fear factor.
Okay, let's talk about some of the stuff that was in your Alien Agenda book. You go into Ingo Swann, who's sort of like the father of this whole stuff, and
right.
And some of the experiences he had, including you talk about this Mars experience, where Ingo had some sort of visions of stuff that was going on Mars, that there were beings up there. And then the Russians, and I know this from my own experience, you go into Russia and talking to them, they sent up a couple of probes, the Phobos probe that got destroyed or disabled somehow. All this sort of ties together with the Spies, right?
Exactly.
Explain it.
Well, in August of 1995, we had our Mars Observer, multi-million-dollar piece of equipment that was going to go into orbit around Mars and start surveying, photographing, and closely mapping the entire surface. And yet, just as it was entering the orbit around Mars, we lost it. Well, this was at the exact time that I was dealing with these military remote viewers, so quickly I was on the phone, and I'm going, what happened to the Mars Observer? And they told me the same thing that happened to the Phobos 2, which was a Soviet Mars probe that went up and was lost just as it was going into orbit around the planet Mars. So, of course, I pushed on that and later saw the results of their remote viewing. And basically what they said was that the Phobos 2 and the Mars Observer, as they were going into orbit around Mars, a disc-shaped object rose off the surface of Mars, came out to meet this satellite, and I might point out, apparently with no hostile intent. In fact, the analogy that was given to me was this was like the tugboat coming out to pull in the Queen Mary, okay? But it came out, it scanned the Phobos 2 with some sort of electromagnetic scanning beam, hey, who are you? It realized that this was nothing that it had anything to do with, so the disc-shaped object turned and flew back to the surface of Mars, but in beaming this probing beam to the Phobos 2, it scrambled the onboard computer, threw it all off. It's probably sparking and going, and they lost control, and both the Phobos 2 and the Mars Observer then spiraled into the atmosphere of Mars and probably burned up.
I remember. Oh, go ahead.
Now, that sounds like an incredible story, right? How do we know if that's true? Well, at that point, nobody knew if that was true. But some astounding feedback came because I have a drawing that the remote viewers did, and it shows not a perfectly cylindrical or perfectly circular object, but kind of an erratic, I'm trying to describe it. Maybe it looks like the state of Ohio or something. It's generally roundish, but it's oblong, okay? Again, just an incredible story, but how in the world would we ever know? Well, it turns out that the Phobos 2 was snapping photographs right up until the time they lost control. And in 1989, that's when the Phobos 2 was lost. And then several years later, like about 1994-5, cosmonaut Colonel Marina Popovich visited the United States, and when she was at a press conference in San Francisco, she held up one of the photographs, last photographs taken from the Phobos 2, and lo and behold, here's an